Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law. MyFM 101.3, here at the MyFM 101.3 home studio with your host, Jay Marston.
Home studio.
He's from the Marston Law Group. I'm John Drohan from Main Effort Financial, and we're here with Tommy Harmon, who is from Holliston Hub. Also formerly known as HCAT, the artist formerly known as HCAT.
Yep.
And we are here doing your show. We are your hosts for Money in the Law. And happy to be here. Taking a couple weeks off, had a little bit of a break here in the summer as what usually happens.
Scheduling conflicts, things come up.
It's not a conflict, it just happens, right?
Yeah,
we couldn't do it.
Conflict, that's why I couldn't be here, but sure, I mean, yeah.
Just couldn't make it on time.
Yes,
yeah. And that happens. Not for anything, anything dramatic or anything sad or anything scary. It's just that sometimes summer gets in the way, and for all the right reasons. But we are back, and we are, of course, Money in the Law. We talk to you about things that have to do with the law, particularly estate planning. Estate planning is kind of one of our fortes, and elder planning.
Near and dear to our heart.
Near and dear to our heart. And I've been doing this long enough now where people will ask me questions, and I will answer them, and I'll say, just let me caveat this with...
Well, they probably lead with, you're a lawyer, right? And your response is?
I'm not a lawyer. However, I stand next to one on TV. Yeah. And I've been saying that for the last 12 years now, and enjoying every moment of it.
Of course, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
So we talk about that. We talk about estate planning, elder law planning, just kind of, the understanding kind of what the law, like kind of the framework of the law and how that could apply to you.
Yep.
And we also talk about money. We talk about finance.
Why? Because they dovetail. They go hand in hand, just like you and I.
They walk like step for step.
Parallel path.
Parallel path. And they don't disagree.
No.
They don't. They just, you know what they do? They walk together. It's like they go like a flowing
Sometimes
river.
I carry you, sometimes you carry me, but we get there. We get there.
And
it's a journey.
And it's a partnership, and it's teamwork, and of course, and the new, we'll say the newest, it's not really new, is Tommy Harmon.
Friend at this point.
And let's officially say this on the air. We've kind of said this. We say, look, we're kind of at the point now where if Tommy's not here and this isn't on Holliston Hub, then it doesn't happen.
If Tommy's not here, it gets a little bit more difficult. You got to really dig down deep into the portfolio of enthusiasm if he's not here. That's one of the challenges.
It is a check and balance, because when you're on the, as we used to in the old days, long before the television showed up, when we were on the radio, on AM radio. I don't know how many people were listening. I don't know if there was a lot of FCC checking up on what we did.
Maybe.
But I don't know. But we did pretty much whatever we wanted to and said whatever we wanted to say. And but we've grown. We've evolved.
We've matured into the role, as they say. Yep, that's right.
So what's new on your side of the superette?
I have a funny story I want to tell.
Let's hear it.
And the funny story involves a mutual good friend of ours.
Oh. This is even better. I love talking about people that I know on TV.
All right, so it involves golf, which is Tommy and I joke about it all the time. He's a scratch golfer, and we were talking about it. We came in talking about playing golf last night. I play golf regularly with a bunch of friends of mine. Regularly, red leather, yellow leather. I play golf with a couple of guys on Tuesday nights. All good guys, all local guys at the great Pinecrest, kind of somewhat frequently referred to as the Augusta of Metro West. And
it gets that. It gets that in a lot of the write-ups.
So one of the guys I'm playing with, softball legend from Holliston, one Ken Sawyers.
Kenneth Sawyers.
Yep. And so on the course, there's a hole affectionately known as the beer hole. And if you lose the hole, you're on the hook for a round of beers for your group of guys that you're playing golf with. But the rule is...
For the record, what hole is this?
This is the second hole on the golf course.
Hole 2. Okay.
It's par 3, I believe. And so throughout the round, as Tom can attest to, in many cases, there's a lot of close is good enough, right? You're right there, you're good, pick it up, we're going to move on. You're going to make that putt. But on the beer hole, you got to play it out, right? Because you never know how you're going to get. You might duff that last shot, and there's beer on the line.
Yeah,
it's important, right?
It's real value.
Yep. So I'm playing with Ken last night. He's in the foursome, and I don't always get to play with him because we pick teams ahead of time, and it's at random. So the planets kind of aligned, and he's in the foursome. So he hits a just crushing shot off the tee, and he can hit a golf ball a country mile, right? He's he's got a couple of boxes.
Good torque.
He's got a couple of boxes checked in the athletics department, right? So he crushes one. So we're all trying to save our hole to try to not be the guy buying the beer. And he's probably, I don't know, he's inside the leather, as they say. He's got a putt to kind of close it out and not be buying the beer. and he reaches down and he assumes it's a gimme and he picks it up.
Ooh,
and he picks it up.
That is a
he picks
rookie mistake.
And another local athletic legend, one Dan Higgins, spots this eagle eye, right? Always on the hunt for a free
He's another guy.
Right?
He's another guy who's probably often confused with a lawyer.
Yes, yes. And he spots that from like 5 miles away. Old eagle eye. He sees him pick
4
this thing
holes
up,
away.
And
No.
He fires off the flag on the play, and Sawyers is standing there. I love him to death, and he's got this look on his face, and he realizes like. That was a free bear right there, and now he's on the hook for 4, right? So he is fired up.
So what's the ruling? Is the ruling
you lose the hole?
You lose the
hole.
DQ,
disqualified
from
the hole.
It's a DQ from the hole.
You are done, and get out your checkbook.
That is unfortunate. Not a stroke. You just lose the hole.
Yep, you're done. Oh. You're done. And so, like I said,
and he was going to win that hole.
Hands down, he was going to win it. Hands down, he was going to win it. And we thought, oh my gosh.
Can't make this up any better.
Christmas come early. Yeah. I don't even have to worry about. I could hit a 9. I could close this out.
That is great. I'm going to hit right-handed.
So I guess the messaging first of all would be I like to thank Ken for those deliciously cold cocktails yesterday, and welcome him back at any time. And I get the sense that he's probably not going to make this mistake again.
It's one of the. You know what, and how we all know this, right?
We've all been there.
That's how you learn.
Yeah,
you learn. And as the great Larry Borkowski, my squad leader when I was in the academy, Larry Borkowski said the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes.
That's right. That's right.
So no one's going to do that who saw that.
It was, and so it was the talk of the night. So I'm going to leave it with that. So Ken, we love you. Great job. You're welcome to play on my team anytime, and anything I can do to get you as distracted as possible.
It's unfortunate. I needed Ken. Ken was speaking to Ken Sawyers. I have a golf tournament I was explaining on that I'm going to on Friday. Well, it will have already happened when everybody's seeing it. So it was yesterday for my dear friend Jeff Moxham. And if you remember, I've talked about Jeff Moxham. We'll talk a little bit about Jeff Moxham. Had a terrible accident 7 years ago where he lost his ability to walk. He's paralyzed from the waist down. So he does this is just let me talk a little bit about Jeff. So Jeff's this guy, right? Jeff was the guy, and he was a great athlete and fantastic golfer, fantastic basketball player. Grew up in the same town as me, so our age.
Sure.
And so Jeff was the guy. If you needed anything, he was. You just say, Jeff, could you do this? And he'd drop what he was doing. And I remember there were some people. One of our friends, his wife had breast cancer. So it was like, and all of a sudden I get a call from Jeff. I hadn't talked to him in 5 years. He calls me up. He's like, hey, we're raising some money for Tracy. Can you do this? Can you blah blah blah? And that's Jeff Moxham. So Jeff had set up this golf tournament before he had his accident. So he had his accident in January. He had to set up this golf tournament for that summer to raise money for another one of his friends who was suffering from ALS.
Yep.
So golf tournament's all set up. Jeff had done it a year in advance. And sure enough, he has this accident and the golf tournament's all set up. So Jeff says, you know what? We're not going to do this golf tournament for me. We're not raising money for me, but we're going to pick every year we're going to pick a charity and we're going to pick a cause.
Sure.
Not even a charity, like a non-profit, but pick a cause every year, and we're going to raise money, and that's what this golf tournament's for. So, and speaking of Ken Sawyers, he was selected to play in this tournament with me on Friday. However, he unfortunately there's this vacation conflict.
Oh yeah.
I talked to his wife, and we just couldn't get out of it. So I had to bring in the great Jeff Jowdy, who is another guy I went to high school with, he happens to be the president of the Ridgewood Country Club. So he'll get us on the green.
He'll be all right. His back will be sore.
A fantastic lawyer, Jeff Jowdy.
Of course. Well, hey, lawyers, they go together.
Lawyers, golf,
lawyers, they go together. They go together.
When they have to.
Yep. So there you go. So that's the latest and greatest. That's the latest.
Ken Sawyers Golf. Yep. The Ken Sawyers Golf Minute brought to you by Town Fair Tire.
Not a sponsor.
Speaking of golf, have you played, Tommy? What do you mean, not really?
Tomorrow, maybe.
What are we waiting for? August? Oh, August. Okay.
We may have to schedule a date. All three of us.
Just to see.
Yeah.
Right? Because we haven't, for the record, we haven't
just to watch
played
the magic
together.
in motion.
Just to kind of learn, right? And just kind of watch it, right? It'd be like
take notes.
Yep, it'd be like shooting free throws or shooting 3-pointers with Steph Curry.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, can I just watch you, Steph, and see how you step into that? Yeah. All right.
So what are we talking about? You got something on your mind? We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. You got something? I got something.
I mean, it's almost like I don't even have to answer it. What was the question in there? You got something? I got something. We take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I get sensitive to the idea that for the folks who listen to the show, great. The first 10-minute banter about local aging celebrities.
People probably shut it off.
Is fine, but at some point, I think we owe it to our adoring public to potentially come up with a topic. That's all I'm saying. If you want to make it.
I'll tell you what. Let's see if
you want to make it the Legends of Holliston Softball Hour. That's a different show. That's a different show.
That is. If we are going to do that show, I think we're going to need to bring some people.
Oh,
in.
I think
there may be some guests.
I would step out at that one. I'm not as well versed in that area.
Well, they all know you. That's right. And oftentimes your name, in fact, more often than it needs to, your name comes up, and and I'm like, I know. I can't even get him to talk about sports, much less play softball, right? So, all right. So let's do this. What's your? Because I'll bet they can dovetail together. What do you got?
So my topic that we've been talking about a lot at the office is about a conversation between spouses to basically, what we find is there's always one spouse who's in charge of everything. Right? They know all the passwords. They know where all the bodies are buried. They know where everything is. And the other one is like, if something ever happens to them, I have no idea what. It's about fostering that conversation and that communication.
Yeah, and setting up kind of that framework or that system.
Yeah.
So it's all right. That is exactly what I wasn't going to talk about.
I know.
I actually was going to talk about kind of the concept of kind of taxation. So we're going to save that. We're going to table that for next time.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I like the idea of kind of the spousal system on how we stay organized, and then because that gives me some good ideas as far as some of the things that we try and promote people to do, because you often see. A lot of times spouses aren't on the same page.
Well,
right?
we see the after effects. You see them all the time. And somebody comes in and goes, I got to change some paperwork, and I don't know any of the accounts. I don't know any numbers. I don't know anything.
I even know what I have.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
And sometimes people just like that's something. So yeah, that's great. Let's talk about that. All right.
Love it.
Don't go away. We'll be right. And there'll be some other some informative banter and important softball discussion,
some witty banter.
or golf conversation. We'll have that as well. All right. Don't go away. Don't go away. Stay in your car, stay next to your radio, stay in front of your TV.
Keep the AC running.
And the guitar's here, so just in case that needs to come out, I bring it just in case.
A musical interlude could break out any minute.
So everybody just stay with us. We'll be right back.
And we're back. My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Maine Effort Financial. Tom is on the bag. For those of you who are listening to the show, what you can't see is there are two studios here in the My FM Media Center. One of them is under heavy construction.
Heavy.
And I think that's where the studio's ultimately going to go. And then this, I believe, is going to be set up as kind of a Ray's war room for all the things that he may or may not be doing.
Ray's war room, as well as his alternate. Yeah, I was going to say there's going to be a pull-out. And
that may be musical space. I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, stay tuned. It's going to be exciting.
Because Ray comes here early in the morning, and I imagine that if, I always think about that. If I were a DJ and I was either a late night, overnight DJ, or if I was like an early morning DJ, and I would, if I was really tired, right? I mean, Inagata Davida, I'd put that on to get my 7-minute nap in, right?
He does always have the best parking spot in the parking lot.
He's always the first one here.
Don't imagine
he's always the first one.
All right.
So you think that is going to be? Is that going to be where we do our recording?
That could be where we perform. That could be where we.
That's going to be where. That's like the what is it? The acoustic lounge, I think.
Yeah,
I like that.
Small desk, tiny desk conference, tiny desk concert as they do on NPR.
The acoustic lounge.
Who knows? Yeah. All right.
Acoustic lounge will start there. All right. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. All right. Well, let's talk about what we were going to talk about.
So the genesis of this conversation comes out of scenarios where clients come in, husband and wife, spouses come in, they talk about it, significant others, whatever, doesn't matter the matchup. And they come in and they basically say, look, they joke about it. It's always a joke, right? Oh my God, well, she's in charge of everything, he's in charge of everything, doesn't matter who it is. Somebody's in charge of everything, right? And somebody's got all the passwords, and somebody's got all the checkbooks, and somebody's got all the debit cards, and somebody pays all the bills, and they know everything is taken care of because I don't have to do it. They take care of it, right? So then, unfortunately, what happens is they who takes care of everything, something happens to them, right? And then the surviving spouse comes in and says, I don't know any of this. We never talked about it. I never wanted to know any of it. And it becomes a very stressful situation. Because, think about it, everybody who's listening to the show, think about it in some weird, wacky way. If you didn't know, and this is specific to finances, it's more than that, but if you didn't know anything about how much money you had, where your money was, where your next paycheck is going to or not going to come from, you are basically just kind of thrown into this information black hole.
Yeah, and if you imagine being that person where if all of a sudden like all the lights went out, right? And all the power went out, and you had no way to get money. You had no way to get access to, and things, you had to pay bills, and there were things that like weren't, I didn't pay my phone, so my phone gets shut off, or things like of that kind of nature.
And then you're going to start getting notices in the mail.
Yeah, and you're going to start getting notice in the mail, and then if it's a credit issue where you owe money, and if things go on for over a period of time, it could affect your credit score, which then affects your ability to borrow money down the road, and all this. I get that. That's a real worry. And it's a real something that usually I would imagine that if somebody finds themselves in that situation, it relatively quickly, right?
Oh, it becomes crystal clear. Yeah. But to your point, it relatively quickly. But remember, this person is usually grieving the loss, right? So, forget today, right now, being in a mindset of help me understand where everything is, right? Now, let's take the partner who knows everything out of the equation, and then let's pile on a whole bunch of grief, and then let's say, and now I need you to go through that file cabinet, right? Yeah. You're already on your last, nerve. You're ready to just throw the whole thing out. You're a bundle of emotions, and then on top of that, you're going to start shuffling through paperwork. And by the way,
but you have no idea what it is.
That's exactly.
You have no earthly idea the difference between when you say, because how many times you talk to people and say, okay, so tell me about your retirement. What do you have for retirement accounts? And I think I got this. I think I used to work for Fidelity. I used to work for this company, and I used to have but people can't put that together.
And you don't know the difference between a credit card statement and a bank statement, right? What was some TV show, some movie where they were talking about, what do you mean we don't have any money? Right here, this paperwork says we have $401,000, 401k. We have $401,000 in this account, and they're like, no. That's a 401k. You get like 20 bucks in there, right? Like this is
we're up to 401. It popped. It popped last week. It was at 395.
This is the challenge, right? The challenge is you find yourselves in a position where, to your point, not only do you not know what you have, you don't even know how to translate the materials that you have to tell you what you have. And in most cases, people have kept it very close to the vest, so the kids aren't necessarily always privy to what mom and dad have going on, because somebody's usually kind of pretty quiet, very circumspect about this, so they don't tell anybody what's going on. So it is now a mystery, and it's an Easter egg hunt, right? They don't know who the accountant is, because they've never gone to the accountant, because the accountant either does everything electronically and you just sign the forms, or they sign the forms for you. And so you don't know who your financial advisor is, because I never talked to the guy. I never talked to John. That's always Bill always talks to John. I don't know John. Yeah. This is what happens. Yeah. So how do you guys see that?
So it's sad because this did happen to us, right? So we're at a client, a very good client, and he managed everything, did everything, and he had a very unfortunate and untimely death. And I had never met his wife. I had spoken to her on the phone, but it was like, And he's kind of my buddy too, and he was an old softball guy, so it was like, we kind of, he'd be like, he'd be like, he'd tell his wife, yeah, we're going to a financial meeting. Often that would end up, maybe at Peperoncini's over a couple of beers. Again, we were talking about finances, but
it's easy to be very casual and cavalier with those types of relationships.
Because he was a young guy, right? So at that point, I kind of manage everything. And when he passed away, it was a very, very big learning curve for his wife, and that was and fortunately, their things weren't very complicated, and fortunately that she called us because we kind of knew where pretty much everything was, to include kind of the old or like his current 401k and things like that. So when you have somebody who's kind of read in on it, if you have like many people don't have an advisor, a lawyer, or even an accountant, if you don't have somebody that has some, kind of circumspective, knows where everything is, that could be that could pose a huge problem. So not only does it
pose a huge problem, but not only do you have to start looking and finding out where all this stuff is, but now all of a sudden, in some respects, depending on your arrangement, you all of a sudden have to start ratcheting up your savviness when it comes to understanding investments and money. And if you've never understood what a 401k is, if you don't understand the taxation and taking money out, if you don't know those things, now you got to start to become somewhat savvy in that area. I mean, certainly you work with a professional like yourselves, you're going to coach them through that, but they still have to understand the language. They still have to know what a mutual fund is, what a portfolio looks like. And if they are completely in the dark on that, you are literally starting at square one.
And it becomes an education process, right? Correct. It becomes like, all right, this is, you kind of explain, this is what everything is, this is what this all means. And I mean, this in your practice, especially through your financial plan and everything that you do, is that oftentimes you have to kind of re-explain everybody needs to relearn this stuff. And it's important, and this, when we have our meetings, I'll tell people, we'll have these meetings just to remind you of exactly what you're doing, because you're going to forget. And which is all part of the reason why you hire somebody to kind of help you with this, so you don't have to kind of dwell on it, so you don't have to like worry about it all the time. So the ability to be able to coach people and kind of say, all right, listen, here's what your husband did. We'll use that as the example. Here's what your husband did. Here's how he had this set up. I'm sure he told you about this many times. And you're like, yeah, whatever. I trust you. I'm sure that it's going to be fine. So here's, just since this is the first time that we're learning about this, or that you're learning about this, here's what we did. And oftentimes, like you said, in the beginning, we have to talk about, okay, this is what a mutual fund is. A mutual fund is, think of it as like a big box or a bucket of stuff, right?
And you're starting from scratch. And you're starting from scratch, and the person sitting there is saying to you, John, I don't care. I don't want to hear this. I want to go home. I want to wrap myself up in a blanket. I want to watch Netflix, turn the phone off, turn the lights down, and hope nobody bothers me. Okay, because I lost my partner of X numbers of years, and I'm not in the mood to hear about portfolio, asset allocation strategies, and the efficient frontier. I just don't care. And so I want to go underground. And so that's fine, but you need to understand, let's just make sure that those lights that you want to turn down can stay on, and let's make sure that those blankets that you want to get under still have the property taxes paid and the insurance is still on the house, because you've never dealt with this.
And when someone passes away, as you know, there's things that have to happen, right? There's particularly if you're in a situation where you're collecting Social Security, then Social Security, we need to update Social Security and kind of everything that's happened, because especially if both of you are collecting Social Security, that one of those is going to turn off. And if it doesn't turn off, if Social Security isn't made aware of it, then they're going to come back and grab that money out of your account.
That's right.
And it's going to happen at a time when you don't expect it. And like you said, there's so many things that are going on at this time. The last thing you want to have to do is to worry about stuff that you don't really understand.
Well, and you'd like to manage the transition a little bit better. Right? That's what you're trying to do. Our suggestion to people is sort of, trying to sit down and have a conversation as a couple to manage this process, right? Now, again, you some cases You know kind of where it's going to play out.
So when one of you goes,
well, this is
estate planning, right?
Look, this has become our mission. Our mission is to try to bring these conversations to the front so that people are less awkward about having them. Now, that could be something as simple as the person who does know where everything is, they got to be a little organized, right? They got to put an Excel spreadsheet together. They got to start putting down some account numbers and some contact info. If something happens to me, call John, right? Something happens to me, here's the account number. Something happens to me, here's where the life insurance lives, right? You got to start kind of putting a blueprint together for somebody so that they can at least have something to look at.
And we have. And I'm old fashioned,
yes,
right? And
you are
so old and fashioned.
Yes, not fashioned, not fashioned.
So being old fashioned, then this goes back to predates the computer times,
sure.
like back in the Army.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like one of my commanders said, he goes, you know what you need to be? You need to be a binder guy.
Yep.
Everything was in a binder. And back then in the Army, you didn't do anything unless it was coming out of a binder. We're going to go work the Range 23. Get the Range 23 binder. Everything out of binder. So that's what I tell my clients, and that's what we do. I have a binder, right? And the good thing about a binder is it's not on a computer. So the old, I have to get in. There's a password or something or some.
What's the Wi-Fi here? I can't get into the. Yep.
Right. If I'm doing it at my attorney's office, so have at least, and that's a starting point. Now, granted, if you have passwords that usually get regularly updated, that's not gonna help you too much. But the way things work now, if you forgot your password, there's a way to kind of figure that out.
Right.
But at least what the binder does, it gives you like a framework of what you have, and it possibly has account. I mean, we'll tell you to put account numbers in, and it'll explain what it is, and you'll have like a ballpark idea of kind of, and then if you do what we tell you to do, which is talk about this at least once a year, and we'll say that, and they kind of with my client, one of the lessons that we learn is like, look, it was all well and good that he and I went out and had beers and talked about it, and his wife totally said, I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
But the lesson coming out of that is like, she needs to be read in, or the other person needs to be read in. And if you're not going to, and I say this to my clients, I go, if you're not going to do it, then let me do it.
Let's put some time in the calendar right now.
Yeah, let me do it. Yes. And then at least she'll meet us and she'll meet me and she'll kind of hear kind of what it is. I'll put it on an email. I'll send it to both of you. So at least you'll have some point of reference to start with.
Yep. And the binder thing, just so people don't get caught up in this, the binder, it doesn't need to have every single statement from every single thing you have.
Oh, no.
I would say, look, your binder needs to have one statement in it, right? You need that statement would have an account number and a phone number and an account title on it. And depending on how up to date you are and how organized you are, that could be something that you update once a year.
Yeah.
Right? Every year you take your 1231 Fidelity statement or whatever your financial provider is, and you put that in the binder so that if something ever happens, somebody can go back and say, I have a statement that's from 6 months ago. Now I at least know what I'm looking for. I have a map, right? I at least know what I'm looking for. And if you have an insurance policy, then the insurance policy could live in that binder. So when we go looking for a certificate number and a phone number, and we know where we're going, we know where to start let's start the phone calls and the contacts.
Right. And then if you're really crazy, if it's a real crazy binder, you may have a copy of some of your estate planning documents. Now,
might have a separate binder.
You could have a separate, but right next to it.
But they're right next to each other. A and B.
Binder one, binder right.
That's
like
right.
Thing one and thing two.
Yep. Financial, legal, whatever you want to call it, and then
money, law, something like that.
And
right?
it all lives right there. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the kind of organization, right? And the other nice thing that comes from that is that what people don't realize, and it's the same way. Like at least with my wife and I, it's like we don't talk about it all the time, and this is what I do for a living, right?
Yeah.
So we don't talk.
Cobbler's kid.
We don't talk about it all the time, but when we do, there's like some I didn't, and there's like some, I wasn't really sure about that, or I didn't know about, or explain that to me again, but then once you're on the same page, then everybody has that kind of sigh of relief. They have a little more peace of mind, and then we can forget about it until the next time we talk about it, right?
That's right. And then the next time we have a conversation about it, again, we don't have to get into excruciating detail, but you just need to understand. Somebody needs to have some kind of back of the napkin blueprint as to where some of this stuff goes. Are you going to get it? Like, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good, right? So if you get most of it, you're well ahead of it. You're well ahead of the curve. But by the way, and I think you as a spousal entity or whatever you want to call it, as a couple, whatever you want to call it, I think you guys, you want to have that conversation, right? Yeah. Because we can do it, you can do it, we've done it, you've done it. But it's different when we do it, right? Because there's going to be some other considerations. There's going to be a conversation
that don't necessarily come up during the conversation.
Well, no, but there's going to be values conversations, right? There's going to be things like, all of a sudden your spouse is going to inherit a sizable IRA, right? And your spouse has been a bulwark against kids asking for money for a long period of time. And now with one of those barriers broken down, there's a recipe for trouble there, because now all of a sudden mom or dad, in their time of grief, and they're sort of trying to bring family together and bring kids together, and they start to say, well, of course I'll write you a check out of money that maybe I should or should not be doing because it's going to impact me down the road. Like again, there's been a change of the guard. And so some of the people that are around you might start to see things very differently, and things could potentially start to happen that never would have happened if there were two of you guys.
And we saw this. We saw this as an example of what happened with one of our clients, which I'll talk about when we take a quick break. Yeah. So just where kind of things were happening one way, and then one of the people died, and then things started going kind of off the rails the other way, and particularly with all their finances. So that was
stay tuned.
That was a significant event that we had to kind of deal with. All right, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is good. This is important stuff.
Good.
Again, it's all about togetherness, all about working together, getting in pace with each other. Right. That's kind of the theme today. It's just everybody being on the same sheet, of music.
Oh, all right, here we go.
Maybe there might be some music when we come back from break.
Yeah.
Don't go away.
And we're back, My FM 101.3, Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main FF Financial, Tom Harmon. And we are talking today about sort of the conversation that is hopefully, after the show, happening more and more often between couples
Saturday
and significant others, and talking about kind of where everything is, right? There's one person that usually tends to take the lead on a lot of this stuff. There's another person that kind of just goes along for the ride. And sometimes when people, when tragedy strikes, there's one person that's just completely in the dark, and we're trying to talk about the importance of smoothing that transition as best you can around, how do you get somebody ready for that? You were talking, right before the break, we were talking about sometimes what happens is there's been a, there's a team effort, right? And there's a team effort about how we're going to handle things, and they're dealing with other people in the family. And together, as a couple, it's easy to manage things because you can always kind of play good cop, bad cop, and there's
all day long.
There's somebody who's kind of like the enforcer who says, you know what? No, I'm not giving you money and real estate and all this other stuff. We're going to do this a certain way. And then if the enforcer is out of the picture, and then therein lies the challenge.
It's funny, and currently the way things operate in our house is that there's between my wife and I, one of us has a Venmo account that actually Venmos the children money, and one of us doesn't. The person who doesn't have the Venmo account doesn't get near as many texts as the one who does. It's weird. It's
crazy.
Yeah, hey, and it's funny. So being the person, I'll tell you, I'm not the Venmo person. Right. It's not one of my duties and responsibilities. However, I am the I'm the accountant, and that I kind of manage the statements,
deliver the messages,
and I say, wow, a lot of Venmos going on here. Nice. Yeah, Venmos, but arbitrary, like $38. Like, wow, who needs $38?
So weird.
$38. Yeah. That's something. Yeah. So before the break, we were talking about how we had an example of where the spouse, the husband and wife are kind of working together, but then when one of them unfortunately passes away, they kind of the things change. They kind of the values change, or the importance of certain things change. And you brought up the example of where people were, who were like, look, we're not just going to start being like a bank account for our kids. We're not just going to start sending them money like an ATM machine. But you have unfortunate tragedy, and there's emotions involved, and you're
people
trying
feeling guilty.
You're trying to get everybody, and so So we found that happened to us, where after one of our clients passed away, the spouse then kind of was under the, and we kind of brief the person, the spouse, and say, hey, look, here's kind of where you stand, where you stand financially. You're in a relatively solid place, and we're going to, kind of continue the plan from there.
Sure.
Unfortunately, what happened is, their adult children at that point were like, oh, well, we wanted to put an addition on the house. We wanted to, we're thinking about moving to this place. We're thinking about sending our kid to private school. Then all of a sudden, over the next, 6 to 12 months, we see a lot of these withdrawals coming out for
sure.
And again, you can't people want to help their children, and it's a normal thing. People will want to, and especially during if you feel like, if you're under the impression that you're financially, stable enough to do that. And, it was kind of our job to say, look, I understand what we want to do here, but this is predominantly what you're going to live on for the remainder of your life.
Right.
And I know that you feel that that's more than enough. However, all of our plans go out to age 110. You're 70 years old. That's 40 years. That's a long time. Now, is everybody going to live to age 110? If you're a Main Effort Financial client, which you guys kind of by de facto are, because I speak to you about finances, then I have a fiduciary responsibility to both of you. Then, fortunately or unfortunately, age 110. You're going. That's you're going to get there. Yeah. After that, you're on. After that, you're on your own.
Our job is done.
Yeah. My work here is done.
Yep.
And you won't care about money, but still, that's a long time where you have to be able to, to deal with life and the world and the stock market and the political world and how everything changes.
Longevity is an issue. Yeah.
And so this whole idea of now after the one person leaves. So I guess the answer to this is that, if you're talking about this kind of before the change happens, before somebody leaves, and you understand kind of what the model is, what the strategy is, then it's much easier especially if you have a third party, if you have somebody like you or I, to be like, hey, no. Remember we talked about this. Remember we said this is if something were to happen to one of you, this is what you're going to live on, and this is how you're going to do it.
Yep.
Here's your wiggle room money. Here's kind of your kind of spending money or your of to kind of distribute. But after that, we have to kind of lock it up.
Yeah.
And we were able to kind of manage the damage as much as possible.
Yeah, well, just bring to light what you're doing. It's one of those, look, I can't stop you from doing what you're doing, but what I can do is I can make sure that you understand the implications of what you're doing, because down the road, when you come back hat in hand and say, I might have misfired on this, the answer is, I understand, we talked about this, now let's see what we can do to fix it, right?
Yeah,
that's the challenge.
Unfortunately, that's kind of where it all will end up. It'll be kind of some crisis management at the end, because you're under the and the other part of this is the kind of, in our example, what frustrated me was that the kids, right? And I this is where I really wanted to bring them in and be like, what are you doing? I get that that you feel like now there's this kind of cash windfall that you are somehow entitled to, and it was one of those like, well, I'm going to inherit the money anyway.
Great point.
The whole the pre-inheritance inheritance.
Well, there's a movement out there right now, and we may have even talked about this on the show. I don't know, but it talks about this
movement.
Well, but it's a movement that says, look, you should be giving your money to your kids now, right? I think it's Die Broke or something like that, right? And the idea is, why hold it so close, right? Why not just go give it now? And let you get to see the enjoyment on their face, and you get to reap the familial enjoyment of seeing your impact on somebody's life, right? And okay, great. So somebody
writes value in that, I guess.
There is, to a certain extent, but somebody writes a book like that, and then everybody goes out and reads the book, and then everybody starts leaning on their parents about, look at page 33 says that you want to, and nobody says, well, maybe first of all, if you can afford it, right? That's a part of the front of that book that doesn't.
That's page 2.
That's right. That's right.
If you can afford this,
you got to look at it, right? Yeah. Over, and there's an arrow. Right. If you can afford it.
If you can't, close book, right?
That's right. That's right. If you can't put book up back, well, buy book and then get rid of book, right? But, but this is the issue, right? Like, people have these conversations and they say, oh my God, this whole advanced inheritance thing. And you got to say to yourself, can you afford to do this? Right? Can you? And let's be real about it.
What's rule number one? What's rule number one in retirement planning? What's the one thing that you cannot let people do if you're planning their retirement?
They got to plan for retirement first.
You can't let them run out of money.
Right.
Like that's and we say that you said this. That's what we say. We say my number one job on God's green earth right now, once you hire us, is that I don't let you run out of money before you or your spouse retires.
Right.
Like so. So when you die, when you guys are sitting at age 110, sitting on the front porch in rock chairs, holding hands. When that happens, that you won't have been worrying about money the day before.
Correct. Right? And you can't get the money back. I don't care how many assurances you get. If you lend them the money for the addition, if you lend them the money for the car, if you lend them the money for the private school, you're not getting it back.
And you need it back because you don't qualify for Medicaid.
Well, you don't qualify for Medicaid, or you're just out of money. Forget the Medicaid thing. You just it's dramatically impacting your ability to live your life. And to really sharpen the pencil on this, if you're a blended family, right, where you've come together, you're bringing two families together, it's a second marriage, it's a third marriage, this conversation is even more critical because when we set up estate plans for blended families, we tell them your plan is going to need more tune-ups than most people's plan, where it just says, look, if we're not around, everything goes to our kids. Because in a blended families plan, you may have kind of altered your distribution scheme of certain assets in line with certain understandings of who's going to get what. And if you're drawing from retirement accounts, or if you're giving money to kids, if you're changing the disposition of assets based on how you're using them, this CD is earmarked for this kid or for this kid's college tuition, and then you use that money for something, it could affect the way your whole plan is put together. So you really need to have an understanding of where everything is and where everything is supposed to go, because your plan might just not point everything in the same direction. You might have multiple off-ramps as to where your money goes if something happens to you. And if that was based on a scheme you put together in 2020, you got to make sure it still works in 25.
And so, right, so you get to the point where, now this whole idea of, okay, possibly, we were talking about the kind of the early inheritance. I just want to I'm hung up on that right now.
Sure.
And again, this is all part of the kind of the overall, the topic of discussion today is to kind of understand where everything is, understand kind of what you have, and then step two is kind of what's the purpose of everything. We always talk about that. Like what's the purpose of this? Why are we invested in this particular type of investment, or why do we have money in this particular account? Why are we carrying this debt and not carrying this debt? That's all part of your financial plan.
Yeah.
So the idea of being able to kind of understand where everything is, and then if you get to this point where okay, we're solid, we're good, we understand where everything is. Remember, the plan could include, hey, we may get to a point where we identify that there's probably money that you're not going to spend, right?
Correct.
There's probably money that
you've got some legacy money
you're not going to need. And again, my advice: if you learn nothing today, don't make that decision on your own. Bring in somebody else.
Talk to a pro.
Yeah, I mean, talk to a pro. Talk to some. Get an outsider kind of look on that. And again, it could even be your Uncle Fred, but something where you think, okay, yeah, we absolutely feel like we have enough money, and you may very well, but just double check it, right? Because like Jay said, that's a big deal. Like if you give your money away, if you put your money somewhere where you no longer have access to it, or more importantly, you don't have ownership of it, right? So if I write a check to my kid and it goes into his bank account, it's his. It's theirs. I have no legal recourse to get that money back unless I sue my child, correct?
Right. Well, even if you sue them,
good luck.
It's going to be, was it a gift? Did you give it freely? Anybody have a gun to your head? No, I gave it to him, but then I changed my mind. Okay, that's called too bad.
That's
what it's called.
That's called, you should.
SOL, that's called. Yep.
Saul.
Yeah, that's right.
So you may get to that point. We may, in the planning process, we may say there may be a point in time when you we identify money. There's a good chance you probably aren't going to need this.
Yep.
And again, it's all driven by what's your end state? What do you want to see when all the dust clears? Like when I imagine my perfect retirement, like when Tom imagines his perfect retirement, right? He's down south, probably, right? Down south, he's playing
Carolina's
36,
area,
yeah,
a lot of golf courses.
right? Just 36 a day, right? You know, he's of course he's as young, as healthy as he is right now, right?
Yeah, teeing off at Paige Spernak every day, right? 18 holes, yeah.
I mean, maybe he's one of those quintessential bachelors. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's got 5 kids, right?
Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows where he's going to be there?
4 wives, 5 kids. Who knows?
Maybe I don't know if that's on his list.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Who knows?
Wow, honey, I'm getting married for the 4th time.
It's great. Not that south.
How much fun? Yeah. So as Tommy's imagining his what his retirement, his picture perfect retirement looks like, you know, he may be at that point where like, look, you have enough money to get you there, and then you got some money to spare, and if you wanted, you know, from your first or second marriage, if you want to give some money to those kids, right, at that point, then we can make a plan to do that.
Sure.
Then there's and again, this is all part of like kind of the overall plan, because so let's say if you say, yeah, this is what I want to do, and when you're sitting there with your 4th wife and you haven't had the conversation with Jay,
where did all my money go?
Yeah, and then unfortunately you catch a wayward drive, and you know and you're 109 at that point, right? and unfortunately it catches you in the temple, and that's it. Lights out. You die happy on a golf course, right? But you had said, I'm going to give that money away to my other children, and if you haven't kind of gone over this yet, or you haven't kind of talked to anybody, this could be a surprise, and this could be something that when your current wife is doing the estate planning at Jay's place, they're like, well, here's all my money. I'm like, well, Tom and I had this conversation.
It's not all of it. Yeah. So, and we see this all the time. It's always around real estate. You know, and here's the other thing. Something happens. One last thing before we kind of wrap it up. Here's the other thing we always see happen when something like this happens. Somebody moves into the house, okay, and getting them out of there. We
talked about this last time, right?
You're going to need like serious armament to get them out of there, because
you're going to need a SWAT team.
Yep, because they're going to come in and they're going to be like, I'm moving in to take care of mom or dad, and then all of a sudden the transition from dad's house becomes a transition to their house, or our house, meaning mine and dad's or mine and mom's, because I'm living here, and there's really no discussion around what's this all about. Are you moving in to help mom transition, help dad transition through their grief, and you're going to become a permanent fixture here? Because we need to discuss this. This needs to be part of the problem. And I say that because this is one, like, you can have that conversation ahead of time with each other to say, look, if you weren't here, if I wasn't here, I would need some help in the house. And I think one of our kids, I don't know who it's going to be, but we've always talked about them for some reason needing a place to go. Maybe they never bought their own place, and this could be a real solution and help out with a lot of problems. But it just can't be something that kind of just falls into place by accident without any real understanding of what's going to happen later on down the road, because that's the other shoe.
And this is all part of what we've talked about countless times on the show, is talk about it when it's easy to talk about.
Yes, have the conversation now.
Make the plan and talk about it, and make sure that everybody kind of hears it, like the players kind of understand this. So most importantly, between spouses, between people who are codependent upon one another, that if you have this conversation, you say, all right, we're on the same page on this, and there may be some things that you disagree on, right? That you may not like leave that conversation where absolutely, I agree with you, you agree with me. That's okay.
Understood.
But at least you've talked about it, right? At least you've kind of have it's the subject has been addressed, right?
Well, and a conversation later with kids, if that's what has to happen, where you can lead that conversation off by saying, your mother and I talked about this. Your father and I talked about this. That gives you, as the person who's trying to control this dynamic, it gives you a little bit of leverage to be able to say, this is not something that we never even considered as a possibility. We discussed this, and because your dad and I discussed this, I've been empowered to kind of manage this transition a lot better than I would have if we had never had it. And it puts you in a different position, and it makes you less vulnerable.
Yeah, and it also makes you puts you in less of a position where there's going to be some potential conflict between you and your brothers and your sisters.
Got
exactly.
It. All right.
Another great show.
Fantastic. Radio Gold, baby.
More radio and TV Gold, right?
Yes,
because
of course.
Unfortunately, I didn't bring my guitar out. All right. Next time.
Next time.
All right. Next time you bring yours.
Yeah, I'm going to polish it right up.
Well, you need to tune it up first of all.
It's all tuned up. Takes a while. It's got 12 strings, twice as many as yours. It's hard to play.
Get to work on that. You got 1 week.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see everybody next week on Money in the Lot.
Have a great week, everybody.